Welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charny, James, the Fatman Stevens, hello, Rob the old guy.
You're listening to the Rob Charny.
Yeah, that's me. I'm here.
And possibly a special guest. Emphasis on the special. We'll see if Ryan decides to be one of us. I'm going to just start off with the dead, as it were. One being the last veteran of the Band of Brothers died. Remember if we talked about this, because we did talk about another gentleman who just passed away from World War II. World War II veteran James Martin, otherwise known as Jim Piwi Martin, has died in his home in Sugar Creek Township, Iowa. According to MYSO, the 101-year-old was known for being part of the 506 Parachute Infantry 101st Airborne Division. This group of soldiers was chronicled in Stephen E. Ambrose's 1992 book, Band of Brothers.
101, huh? Wow. Good on him.
I'm bummed because, it's literally like the last of a generation of men who... If you've read Stephen E. Ambrose's book, did some absolute crazy shit, and were probably one of the best units of its era, according to everything I've ever read.
Well, that's subjective, but he did some amazing. That whole group did some amazing things.
Well, the reason why a lot of people are saying they're so good is because I forgot the guy's name, the guy who Schwimmer played in the Band of Brothers TV show. Apparently, he was actually really good at training troops. He was just a giant perpetual asshole in real life.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons a lot of the people, even the unit members, credited him for training a unit that was so strong because they did it just despite him type of thing. At least according to the book. And Jean-Luc Godard, one of Jeff Michaels, our passed away... cohort, one of his favorite cinema legends, has died at 91. He's a director. We did one of the movies, I think, for Real Flicks Reviews. I think it was called Band Apart, but don't quote me on that. I don't remember.
Yep. You should have a lot of sound bleeding through here. Is that over on James's studio side?
Yeah, I think I will move and see if that.
So,
It should. It'll be fine. It says, hey,
anyways, yeah, so John Godard died. How old was he?
Godard.
91.
Wow.
And since we talked about Queen Elizabeth dying, I read something the other day I wanted to pass on. Why is the Queen's coffin lined with lead? So I heard that, and
it can be.
It explains why there's 8 pallbearers, and they all look like they're struggling.
Well, they didn't say how thick the lead was. I'm sure it adds some weight, no doubt about it. I guess it's a tradition thing. So with British royals.
The Queen Elizabeth II. I'll stop making QE2 jokes at this point. Its coffin is currently laying in state in Westminster Hall, following her death on September 8th. It's a royal tradition dating back centuries for coffins to be lined with lead. This is because lead coffins preserve the body for up to a year, and important due to the way royal family members are typically buried.
What's that on their head? I'm trying to figure out why. So a year? That's not saying much. These hermetically sealed coffins probably do that all on their own, right?
So lead line, and this would be a perfect thing for Ryan, the creepy bastard, could actually answer this one. Lead lining a coffin seals the coffin, keeping out moisture, preserves the body for longer, slowing the decomposition process, and also makes sure the smell and any toxins from a body can escape and unharm the environment. A coffin must be sealed if it is for interment above ground. It also will be the case for Queen Elizabeth, who will be laid to rest in King George VI Memorial Chapel in Windsor Castle.
So is she going in a... what do they call them? I'm sorry, I just blanked. She's not being buried in the ground, is she? Is she going into...
It says she's going to be buried at above ground, so I'm assuming it's in a... not a sarcophagus, it's a...
oh my goodness, I apologize to everybody.
My you know what I mean.
It's decided not to work.
Mausoleums.
Mausoleum. There you go. So that's what you must be doing. So okay, well that makes more sense.
And the other one was the
I don't
Queen.
know. I think that's kind of creepy that they keep dead people like that. I mean, where you just can go and stare at them. I mean, like you just want to watch them slowly decompose.
Well,
there's
you're
no
not going to be
window.
able to see her. She's sealed in this lead-lined coffin unless even Superman couldn't look through lead.
They're probably
Right?
stopping. They're probably stopping the X-ray process to see if the Queen really died or if she's hanging out with Elvis right now. So, did you know the QE2 had a favorite cocktail? It's
QE2 what? The cruise ship?
Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh, all right. So you're going back to your...
He's on a queen fascination. And not Freddie Mercury.
Oh, jeez. Wow. I'm not going to touch that one. 1 ounce of gin, 2 ounces of Dumnet, Dubonnet. It's French. I'm definitely not pronouncing that correctly. Half a lemon wheel, and ice cubes. So, Dumnet is a French sweet amortized wine-based aperitif. It's a blend of fortified wines, herb, and spices, including small amounts of quinine, with a fermented being stopped by the addition of alcohol. So, it was interesting as somebody who's into cocktails.
Okay.
The shocking thing is the aperitif. It's either super dry or the aperitif is sugary because there's no sugar in that cocktail. And I don't know, drinking gin straight up is just not fun to me.
No. No. But whatever. I don't really drink alcohol anymore. I think the last drink I had was like 2 years ago. I just don't have any interest in it anymore.
I love a good cocktail. I mean, I'll still maybe once or twice a month have a cocktail on a Friday. Besides that, that's about it for me. But I love the science behind cocktails more.
Yeah. Well, I know. I know you enjoy that, but I'm just saying, I just don't really have an interest in it anymore. So
okay,
the bosses of bosses, Jefe de Jefes, who goes by that, but he was the founder of the Guadalajara cartel, Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, is being released. He was one of the most powerful drug traffickers. Actually, Mexico considered him the most powerful drug trafficker. Is finally getting out.
After how long?
He was arrested for the murder of the U.S. enforcement agent Enrique Kiki Camareno in 1985.
Wow.
And he's been in prison since 89. And he's finally getting released. He's blind in one eye and deaf in one ear. But I don't know. I'm still kind of like thinking I don't know if they should be letting him out.
So has our government said anything about this, about him being released?
Let me see. No, that's from the Mexico reporters. I don't see anything in the article that really says how we really feel about it.
33 years.
For many of the, the ADA or anything like that. So
33 years for somebody who is as bad as him just doesn't seem enough.
Well, he got caught for one of the probably many murders
that
he was part of, right?
I mean, one.
So I guess it goes to should he ever get out? I would think if I was, a member of the family of the officer that was killed by him.
I don't see where it said. I was trying to find out if it was a Mexican prison or an American prison. I'm assuming it was a Mexican prison that he's being released from. It doesn't say in the article, which is kind of disturbing. It's kind of a shitty article, other than them saying that he's getting out.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is El Chapo was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years and ordered to pay $12.6 billion in forfeitures.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, he's being released. I'm still kind of I think he shouldn't be out.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah,
Oh, well.
I came across that article today, and I'm like, that's kind of. I mean, I don't see him restarting his cartel.
You would
being
think they'd keep a
released,
close eye on him.
Yeah, probably not.
How
but I'm
old is he?
assuming he still has money and influence.
How old is he? Does it say?
73, I think I said. 76.
That's getting up there.
Yeah.
Hey, but you could still have influence.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're 73,
Don't
you're
bury us all just because we're getting up there.
well, let's be honest. At 73, there's a less chance of being a badass if you're just getting out of prison versus if you're 73 and you've been
76.
free the whole
Well,
time.
yeah, you're right. I mean, he himself probably isn't going to be. We all pale a little bit when we get older, but I'm sure if he's got enough money, he's got enough guys.
Well,
But maybe he
the
doesn't
way
have
I
any
look
money.
at it is if he was in prison since 89 and he's
Mhm.
still alive,
Mhm,
blind in one eye, deaf in one ear, and still alive,
mhm.
he has influence because
Yeah.
he's not dead.
True.
Oh, true enough.
You know, I mean, if he didn't have anybody protecting him because of the influence he still has, one of the other cartels would have killed him a long time ago, being a boss,
Yeah, or somebody would have gotten to him who he harmed in the past.
or somebody just killed him just because they were killing the Jefe de Jefes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
I don't
true. Killing somebody for notoriety is definitely something they do. So I've got a couple articles from the producer, so we can choose the 10 most controversial films of all time, 27 things kids did that would horrify us in the 60s, and we collected some pretty strange things in the 90s.
Go with whatever you. Yeah.
I think the middle one. I want to see what they think would horrify us from the 70s.
60s. Let's see.
From the 60s. All right.
Was it 60s or 70s?
60s.
60s. Okay.
So I don't think I'm going to be horrified.
So I
But go
obviously
ahead.
I survived them, so I might be prejudiced about
So
this list.
the title of it is "It's a Miracle That Any of Us Survived Childhood in the 1960s."
Mhm.
And number 1, pregnant women smoking and drinking.
It doesn't surprise me. That was continued on until like the 80s.
If so, I'm assuming what it does is cause reduction in IQ, and if you're paying attention to American politics, may explain a few things.
Yeah, I don't know.
Number
Hillary.
2,
Oh, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
crummy car seats and seat belts.
True enough.
Yeah, they did have those metal. There was like a single metal bar car seat back in the day. My sister had one.
Well, so even in the early 60s, there are forms of lap belts. And there was that, but still, you look at a car from the 60s and what is its dash is not padded. It's solid steel.
No, some of
Maybe,
them have that padded
but you're-
dash, so it helps reduce the amount of damage it does to your face.
John,
Not
that
many, not in the
was that was
60s.
like a quarter-inch of leather.
That was it. It, was
It
as
would
bad
help
as
a
it was-
little bit. They'd at least be able to identify who
Soften
it was.
the blow, as they say.
So, smoking was emulated and encouraged.
Well,
Yeah.
candy cigarettes. Yeah. Cool.
I actually saw an ad, and I think this was from the 30s or 40s, but it could have been for up to the 60s, that smoking was encouraged for the ladies to lose weight. And it was
Yes.
an ad.
Yeah.
It was an ad that said, "Ladies, do you have a few pounds you need to lose? Try smoking." Brought to you by
Yeah.
Chesterfield, type of thing.
Brought to you by the Marlboro Man.
Yeah. Unsafe cribs.
Oh,
We still have unsafe cribs, honestly.
yeah, there's still a lot of, it seemed like throughout the decades, a lot of dangerous cribs.
Every year there's a PSA on one of these news talking head shows where they have "Is your crib unsafe? You may be killing your child." Up next on 11. You see that all
Right.
the time.
Right.
Trampolines without nets. I had this when I was a kid. The only thing you risked is it being ejected at a 30-degree angle.
I don't understand trampolines with nets. What's, if you fly off, you fly off.
That builds character.
That's all part of it, right? That's a rite of passage. I survived trampolines and
knowing-
monkey bars and
I gotta say,
you
knowing
name it, I
James,
survived.
knowing James for a long time, he's survived worse.
Probably a few times.
No child-proofing.
What was childproofing?
Well, when you were a kid, you had, there was a 600-pound TV on top of a TV tray,
Right, exactly. And bare wires hanging on the wall right next to your bathtub.
And the worst thing, don't forget, the worst thing is if there was no channel changer, so your dad would smack you to turn the channel.
That too.
Change the channel. What? Black. Yes, sir. Okay. I call shenanigans bullshit on this one. Walking to and from school alone. What?
Well, it depended on what your age was, right? I mean, does your high school age children, can they not walk home from school by themselves, or you got to go hold their hand?
Here's what the article says. There were no carpools. Even first graders were sent off to school on their own once they learned the way.
Well, that was, all right.
Okay,
It was different times. And you know what? Yes, I don't remember a time from elementary school on that I didn't walk to school by myself. But it was different times, different places. It was, I think, entirely different than now.
Okay, let me do it this way for you guys. Okay, when you say walking home by yourself, there was a group of kids that you would all leave school together, and as you went by each other's houses, that kid would walk the rest of the way home. I mean, up their driveway, or turn off a little bit. So it wasn't like you were exactly walking home completely by yourself. And then on top of that, I mean, I was walking home in the 80s in Southern California during the Blood and Crip Wars. So, I mean, it's not uncommon, and there's still kids that do that. When I pick up my kids from the bus, there's still a group of kids that walk home. So, that's just crap.
Well,
So-
that's why John labeled
That's just
that.
crap.
Yeah.
So-
That still happens now. and it's not unsafe. I mean,
we don't all live in New York City.
Yeah.
So here's another one. Going to a friend's house unescorted.
Here we go again. See, that's all part of the same thing, right?
Okay, another one. So I'm going to go through these fast. If you guys want to talk to them a bit, is chewing sugary bubble gum. Fuck you. That's the dangerous thing. We almost didn't survive because we chewed gum with sugar. Kiss my ass. If you really want to say somehow we survived, how about Coke? Coca-Cola is more dangerous to people than fucking bubble gum. Good God.
I mean, they use the clean engines.
Oh, cereal with lots of sugar. Again.
That still exists today. I mean, tricks are for kids. Think about it. It's all
So,
sugar.
according to some old folks I've known, this might have actually helped people, is nuns who smacked.
I think that's still a thing.
But
There are still nuns that'll beat you with a yardstick.
but people pay for that now.
That's true. I mean, there are still those places in New York where you can go and have them dress up and beat you.
Hanging out in
I don't think
that
they're
kind
true
of
nuns.
school.
hanging out in the
I don't think they're true nuns. I don't
Different
think
kind
they
of story
took
here. Wait a minute.
wives are habit made out of leather. Hanging out in candy stores. I'm still kind of confused where the bad part of this list is. Riding bikes without helmets. Okay, I'll give you that one as some guy who probably saved himself a concussion. I'll give you that one.
I don't think I've ever ridden a bike with a helmet.
That explains a few things. Hitchhiking, I'll give you that. There's been a lot of people murdered and killed, especially in the 70s, because of their
That was
hitchhiking.
never a particularly safe thing.
More shenanigans, playing outside unsupervised all day. I hate to break it to you. To some degree, there was always a parent paying attention. Especially if you were in neighborhoods.
Yeah, but I mean, like, some of those parents just watched. They didn't really do anything, even if you were fighting.
Yeah. Oh, okay, here's another one for the old guy. Playing at the beach on your own. Dun, dun,
Heaven
dun.
forbid. Oh my. Yes, I
Okay.
survived that.
So wait, let
But-
me read this real quick because the 60s were all about teens having fun. Beach movies. The whole family would go to the beach. Kids were water babies as your parents were setting up beach umbrellas and chairs. You would immediately beg to go in the water and they'd let you with the command of stay where I can see you. But really, the lifeguards were like babysitters.
I did that in the 80s. Why is this list saying 60s things that you're going to be shocked by? I mean, I got pulled under by the undertow a few times. I just
no-
woke up on the beach.
No sunscreen. Okay. Okay, here's ones for the city folks. Stickball and games in the street. That still happens. I've done that. Big
I
deal.
mean, that was in Wayne's World.
Drinking
Car.
from garden hoses.
Yes, drinking from garden hoses.
I
That
think
is-
this list doesn't. Oh my god, this list is starting to bug me.
By the way, this is from a website called countryliving.com. All since I've lived in the country my whole life, I have done. Except for this one, cooling off with a fire hydrant.
Yeah, no.
Oh, becoming blood brothers and sisters. Okay, so that's not exactly healthy, especially with all
Not
the
the
diseases you
safest
can
thing.
get.
I didn't.
Nowadays, that's not the safest thing to do. But
you
back
ever do
in the
that, Rob?
day, yeah, I did.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, Blood Brothers thing.
Sleeping in the back window of the car in road trips. You can't do that today. They're not big enough. In the 1960s, they were a small hammock.
Well,
I
hardly
didn't-
anybody has sedans anymore with that there. And usually it was too doggone hot to lay in that, that window that's beating down on you from any sun. That's not a thing.
Coming home to an
didn't do
empty.
that.
Did you do that? I never
No,
did.
I didn't do it.
Spanking and hitting,
Rob saying
and,
he never.
and another one was coming home to an empty house.
Yeah.
Spanking, I'm still of the belief if you do it, there's got to be a reason behind it. You shouldn't wail on your kid just because he forgot to turn off the light. I think it depends on the punishment. Sometimes, I think if the kid does it, it's bad and bad enough. It's buyer beware. But I think it's up to the parent. I don't think it's bad. Oh, here's for the old guy, mercurochrome.
Stung
Actually,
like
what that
crazy,
is.
man. Oh, it's the early iodine. It's
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Is it
Yeah.
iodine? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a derivative of or something. I don't know.
I think
But
my
anyway,
mom
it's-
might have used that on me once. Iodine.
That
But
was
mostly it was rubbing alcohol and hydrogen peroxide. That's all I remember. I do think I remember iodine once.
Unsafe toys.
Mm.
Well, they had toys in the 90s. They had that. What
do they
that?
consider unsafe?
Well,
That's what I want to know. What
here
do
they're
they
showing a
consider
Red
unsafe?
Ryder
Most of it's
BB gun in the ad.
Sure. Yeah, there's that, but I think a
Uh.
lot of it's choking hazards, that type of thing, and there were a lot of unsafe
What was
toys. And if you
the-
go back far enough into the mid '50s with
A
all
rector
the
set. That would be the one that I
well-
see being a choking hazard.
those were the most fun.
I know
love
those.
things.
If you look at the cost of an erector set, a full complete erector set, now,
Yeah.
you can make some good money off of those.
Mm.
And,
I don't see anybody really wanting to sell one if they have a good one.
and the,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last one is chasing truck emitting poisonous vapors.
Must be a big city thing.
So there were no warnings that pesticide sprays were coming, just the delight of kids who found it fun to run behind the trucks that sprayed with poison to kill mosquitoes and other hazardous chemicals. The fog it made was enticing and it smelled good too. Running and chasing the truck was fun. I don't know anybody who's done this, so if you're listening to this, let me know because
They're probably not alive if they did that. Goodness.
that's
Okay. So yeah, all right.
That seemed like a very over-exaggerated list.
I think the list was written by somebody who's a little bit of a nanny parent, who kid is can't do anything dangerous, and
We cover so many of these almost the same kind of stories throughout throughout the months of doing this show that sometimes you got to wonder if they're not just combining all these stories together just to make a story. I got to get my 400 words in, so I'm going to make things up.
I believe it.
Speaking of which, this article headline made me laugh. And I just think it's just this person just trying to put out an article that is attention grabbing. This is a Newsweek article. I don't care. I'm going to throw him under the bus. Donald Trump's surprise visit to Washington, D.C. sparks arrest speculation.
You are fake news.
This entire article is nothing to do with the DOJ even looking into Donald Trump. All it talks about is him getting off a plane, heading into a motorcade of vehicles, wearing golf shoes and a white polo top. And that's all it says. That's all it says that they saw him do. Doesn't talk about any officers, doesn't talk about anything that he's planning on doing. That's it. The rest is just all filler. And it's like, why couldn't he have been going to play golf? So if he flies in a plane and goes anywhere near DC, you guys are hoping that he's getting arrested?
Yeah.
How about you write the article when he's in handcuffs?
Yeah. They absolutely are hoping.
And I'm like, I read the entire article trying to find out where they got the idea that he was being arrested. It doesn't talk about anybody that he met on the tarmac that looks like any officer or anything. And I'm like, you guys are just doing wishful thinking.
At the risk of using kind of a conservative talking head kind of catchphrase, Trump derangement syndrome is kind of a thing. I've talked to multiple people, friends, family, strangers, that if you mention Donald Trump, the ability to hold a civil conversation is completely outside of the window. So I can see the person disliking Trump, whoever wrote the article, whether it was the editor or the person who wrote it, just Donald Trump's in there, this is going to, blah, blah, blah. It's probably what happened.
I think it's just clickbait. And I mean, it's coming from, a supposedly notable news source. And it's just a clickbait article. And that's what bugs me about when I'm trying to find articles for the show. Is you come across most of these things that are just terribly written, or the headline doesn't even match what is written.
Yeah, well, that's true. And sometimes that's that news aggregation sites that, pile all this news together. And sometimes they are disjointed as far as headlines and the actual story. That does happen. I mean, all right. So there's a story out today that I was looking at. It says a shift in Jupiter's orbit could have a bizarre impact on Earth. And it goes on to talk about how, the Earth and every other planet in our solar system orbits the sun. And so what it's talking about is a possible change in Jupiter's orbit could make parts of Earth more livable by raising temperatures in our most frigid zones. And which is weird about this article is that that's what everybody else is, is talking about global warming. And in this case, they're saying, Jupiter could change it and we might be more inhabitable in the polar regions. So I'm going, well, wait a minute. On one hand, you're saying that we have global warming going on, but it's also possible that a shift in Jupiter's orbit is causing some changes.
So what? Who's going to be the first people who buy beach homes in Siberia? It's going to be new oceanside housing in Siberia.
Is it gonna change the equator? I'm trying to figure out what they're. What are they exactly?
Well,
saying?
yeah. So what they're talking about here is, they actually go on to say things like, because of Jupiter's massive gravitational pull, and part of the reason that if it changes slightly, it'll have a change in our orbit. Does it mean the shifting poles? Maybe, I don't know. But what they're saying is that Earth's orbit will be actually slightly closer to the sun, and so that'll make the polar regions, Antarctica and the Arctic, see changes in temperatures. But it's like, well, is that possibly happening now? Is this why we're seeing all the droughts and the heat shifts and things changing so dramatically?
Well, I was thinking that we're seeing the heat shifts because of the big solar spot on the sun that's been shooting continuous radiation at us. That, they're talking about the coronal mass ejection, the CME. It's one of the things that I actually do when I pay attention to what's going on with our sun. That's one of the things that I
So I'm. So we'll.
So I,
Well, hold.
So I don't know if the sunspot is actually got something to do with that. I mean, there's all kinds of theories as to why the planet's heating up, and global warming is definitely one of them. It's just very interesting as a story. This story is coming out, scientific base, and that a shift in Jupiter's orbit could actually cause
radiation coming off.
So James, you locked up a bit. I did want to add something to add to the Rob story. This is on MSN.com.
I lost you guys.
You locked up. That means places like Antarctica and the Arctic would see massive changes in temperatures and very cool locations worldwide too. Alternatively, it would probably mean warmer temperatures in places where the heat already swelters, which could lead to some other complications. And it does talk about, one of the articles I just kind of read says the change in orbit would just be, I guess it has an oval orbit now. So if it changes a little bit, it'd cause issues, even like tilting the way the Earth faces the sun, etc. I've never heard this, by the way, ever, by any journal, anything I've ever read. And it makes sense that Earth's weather is affected by non-satellite planets. Like the moon, I know, affects Earth. I've never heard anything about Jupiter being so far away would affect Earth in any way. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one either. I mean, it just kind of makes sense because, we're all being held together in a gravitational pull around the sun.
Yeah,
so if a planet
all
moves,
of it affects. Yeah,
it's gonna.
You could say it where it affects each other. I mean, other planets, especially something as even a gas giant like Jupiter, could easily have an effect.
Yeah. Anyways,
so I got an interesting story. This makes me laugh just because I remember the Microsoft trial back in the day. European Union upholds Google's 4.1 billion, that's billion with a B, folks, euro fine for bundling search with Android. Which, by the way, is quasi how Microsoft got in trouble back in the day by bundling Internet Explorer, a browser, with Windows. So I find it funny that a company that complained later on in the aughts got busted for the same thing, more or less. So
okay,
does that mean when you get a new Android phone, there's going to be that search pop-up box that tells you which search engine do you want to use, like the European version of Windows?
Probably.
Oh,
I don't know. Sometimes the EU, I think, is a little. I mean, shouldn't we go in knowing that Android might have a bent towards Google?
There are times where I think they're ridiculous, and other times they're things that I actually agree with, where they're like they're asking questions on Microsoft's acquisition of Activision, and things like that. They're even looking at, should Apple force to be used USB-C. Now, I'm not 100% for that because it locks you into a standard, but I do think that I wish in some degree that our American government would act a little bit like the European Union when it comes to asking questions of things. It may not be good, it may not be bad, but at least they're looking into it,
Yeah, well, I don't
James,
have a problem with that.
are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just jotting down notes real quick.
Notes. Nope.
And here's something for our producer who used to love this. If she listens, hello. Interview with a Vampire trailer previews AMC's supernatural drama. So Interview with a Vampire, Anne Rice's classic series of novels, is becoming a TV show.
I do know about this. I'm not sure how interested I am.
So AMC Studios...
And I love the movie.
So AMC... I haven't seen it in years. We'll have to rewatch it. AMC Studios has announced the full Interview with a Vampire trailer for its upcoming series adaptation of Anne Rice's classic supernatural gothic novel of the same name. It is scheduled to be released on October 2nd. The trailer highlights Lewis's complication relationship with charismatic leader Lestat, the vampire who seduced Lewis towards the darkness and attempt to make him his immortal companion. It teases Lewis' struggle with killing humans as well as the arrival of Claudia into their lives. It doesn't interest me, but I'm happy the fact there's something else that's becoming something. It's better than all the rehash and repops they've done. And this will fit more into, if it's good, it'll be good, because at least it's doing more of the novel than the movie did, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it. A quick one, Wall-E Wall-E becomes first Pixar film introduced into the Criterion Collection.
Really?
Yeah. And that was a tease because, ladies and gentlemen, you know it also should be inducted into some sort of Hall of Fame is our sponsor, Audacity.
Today's show is brought to you by
Audacity.
The game where dignity is overrated. Go to ODDASSITY.com. That's ODDASSITY.com. Pick up a card game from this website or selected stores. That's Audacity. The unforgettable party game for mischievous people.
This just in, use MadTrio, all caps, all one word for 10% off your final order. Make sure you tell them the MadTrio sent you. Pixar Films has lauded for decades for a number of reasons, but the studio is now adding another accomplishment to the list as of 2008's Wall-E become the first film from the studio to join the Criterion Collection. So the Criterion Collection was founded in 1984 with the goal of highlighting the greatest cinema achievements in history, delivering the select films to the highest quality home video releases evolving across various mediums. If you ever want to see the best, the cleanest, the best looking versions of any film, if it's on the Criterion Collection, look for it because they generally do one hell of a job restoring it. If it's possible to restore it.
I've got a few movies from the Criterion Collection series, but I'm pretty shocked that Wall-E is joining that. I mean, that's surprising to me. I mean, it was a good film.
I would love to know why. Because it's not the first animated film like that.
The article.
It doesn't. This article I'm reading doesn't say. But if you think of 3D animation, it's not the first 3D animation movie. I could make a couple of one versus Pixar's Toy Story. That one came out of it's based off a video game that came out. That was the one everybody said had Uncanny Valley, but it was something with spirits. But was it Spirits Within? I don't remember, but
Spirited Away.
No, it's Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. It came out in 2001.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
I'm kind of confused. I don't get why. I mean, it's not even the first animation film that had some sort of "we need to save the earth" kumbaya. 60s and 70s would have been the first one for those that I'm aware of.
I went on to the Criterion.com site and to see if they have anything that really says exactly why they chose this one. And it just says, that they look at it as this film is a high watermark of digital animation and that the vision of a dystopian future is the dazzling pop science fiction love story. So that's their justification.
You know, the love story is good. It's not the first to do it, in my opinion.
No, it's not. That's why I'm like, huh. It's weird that they chose this one, but I guess they're going because of the dystopian future.
As somebody who's an animation nut, who's seen a good deal of animation from pretty much all of the 20th century, I would say it's probably the best mix, like of story that's at least if you take a look at within that studio's work. I think it's the best mix of everything. So I guess if you base it off of that, I would say if they were looking, we must have a Pixar film, it's probably one of the best ones to do that with. Because I think it's a better story than Toy Story. I think it tells a better message than Toy Story to some degree.
Interesting.
Not my choice, but I don't know if I would do a Pixar studio thing, but...
I don't know. That's weird. I wasn't expecting that WALL-E would ever make it into the Criterion collection.
To be completely honest, I don't think we're going to see a lot of modern movies in the Criterion collection. I don't see 20 years from now that we're going to see Iron Man Criterion collection. I just don't see that.
No. So, you guys have seen the TikToker, Kambane Lame, right? Lame or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Maybe. It's somebody who likes
He's
TikTok.
the guy that doesn't say anything, but he sees people trying to do the life hacks, and he just kind of stares at things and then just shows you how to do it the normal way.
Vaguely.
You've seen some of them stuff.
Probably.
But the thing that blew me away is he became really famous during the quarantine. Is when he became really famous. He's in Italy. He's from Italy, and he's 22 years old, and he has 150 million followers. Guess how much he makes per TikTok post?
$20.
These are TikTok posts, so they're maybe what? How long is a normal TikTok thing? A minute, 2 minutes at the most.
I've seen
right?
10. Yeah, anywhere between
but
that
not
and
very
5
long.
minutes.
They're
Not
short.
much.
Less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, longest is like 5 minutes. $750,000 per post.
Wow.
Per post.
Good for him.
Well, now he wants to get into Hollywood.
Of course.
And so, I don't blame him. I mean, but I think I would retire if I was this guy. So he lost his job when quarantine hit. He was in construction and just started doing these TikTok videos. And now he makes $750,000 a post. And to learn English, guess what he's watching?
Go Look
Mr.
at
Rogers'
Silent.
Neighborhood
Oh, okay.
and Daniel Tiger. So he's watching all these things and, American cartoons to learn English to join Hollywood. I'm just
It's
like,
not the worst thing.
If it works,
you make $750,000 a TikTok post.
Can I ask you guys?
Retire.
Can I ask a question? Now, this is the way I see it. If I was him, I would ride that horse to the cow came until the cow came home. I would bank everything I could except minimal amount of money to survive, because that's going to end. Why go to Hollywood when millions of America go to Hollywood and they end up being some sort of stripper on Hollywood Video Boulevard? I don't see that working. I don't get it.
I don't either.
But
as far as I'm concerned, if I was him, I would literally retire now.
I think he should
let's keep working, doing your TikTok, save all that money, and you won't have to worry about what you want to do next.
Like within a year, he could probably retire for the rest of his life. So I would literally do it until it just dropped. Then spend the rest of your life gallivanting, do whatever you want. Do what Macaulay Culkin does, which is nothing.
I was... So there's this one girl I saw that does ASMR. So, you basically just sit there and eat food on YouTube.
Creepy.
People watch you.
Creepy.
That's weird.
She's worth $8 million. 27 years old. Net
How
worth
much?
$8 million.
Jeez.
And $8 million. And all she does is just post a few videos a week of eating food.
I'll be honest.
There's got to be
insane to
more
me.
to it, right?
I
mean, is
Well,
that
I mean, she makes her own little candies, cakes, little things
all
that,
right.
and then she just sits there and
is she
you
attractive?
listen to her eat it. Of course she is. That's
Okay,
why
so-
you make that much money.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things going. Is one, if it's a woman doing anything and she's attractive, you're immediately going to get traction. Now the question is her looks enough to get most people to watch? That's going to be a certain percentage of that number who are going to do it just because she's incredibly good looking. The second,
I think she's got millions of followers too, over a million.
well,
at
the
least.
other part is there's
it's
people
just
who
like,
are.
If you think about it, not all of them are going to be horny men.
Well, yeah, no, agreed. But I've known women who will do the same thing. It's just like a cleavage thing. I've known a number of women who will say if you're a fairly busty woman and they're showing, they'll stare, and the women who have told me are as straight can be. It's also the food thing. Is the food interesting? Is what she making or eating? So there's that intersection, and there's people like me going, how the fuck are you making money off that? And they'll watch it just to try to figure it out. Like, this makes no damn sense.
Well,
and
see,
then there's
you just
AMSR
gave her
freaks.
views, and then you paid for her money. You give her money because you sat there and watched a certain number of ads that YouTube makes you watch.
I don't get it. As somebody who's definitely old, kind of wish I was born a little later, because if all you have to do is, like, people watch you eat, fuck, dude, I'd be 1,000 pounds, but I'd be rich as hell. The best amount of food I could eat at my age is amazing.
What is the name of this person?
The woman or
the
the
woman.
guy?
No, the woman.
Honeybee, I think it is. Just look up Honeybee ASMR and you'll find her. Hunni, not spelled right.
By the way, if there's anybody out here listening saying, "Oh, you guys are just jealous," two things. One, yes. Two, being jealous of somebody is not a bad thing. Being jealous can actually be a motivating factor to get your ass off and do something. And three, good for her. If she found a niche doing something that I found ridiculous, but she's making a boatload of money and her morals are okay with it, go for it.
You know, I'm not jealous. I just look at things like that and I'm like, that's great that they were able to this bandwagon early enough.
Yeah, 100%.
Where they make a massive amount of money early. And I hope they invest that money so that they don't end up like me, where I'm working hard at 40 years old when they're, in their mid-early 20s, already a millionaire.
Oh, 100% agree.
Take money and invest something smart with it. That's kind of where I'm at, because I wish I had an opportunity at their age.
Okay, so she's a big, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, good-looking woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm only saying jealous as somebody who's been podcasting for a decade, who was at the inception of podcasting. I was there since day one. I was actually listening to podcasts before day one. And as somebody who's been doing this for a long time, I'm jealous because, like, man, I wish I had the audience. But my version of jealousy is not a bad thing. It's like, hell, you keep going. I want her to succeed. I think it's odd, but... You know, I'm a 40-year-old who loves cartoons. I'm not exactly one to poke fingers at her.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Pretty strange.
I don't get ASMR. I've seen all sorts of things. I've seen people sharpen knives, put away laundry. I don't get the whole ASMR craze. I've never understood it, but...
Yeah, I don't get it either. It's not my thing. So.
However, when they add ASMR of somebody eating tacos, it makes me hungry every time. Because it's that. It's like, oh man, I'm starving.
Tacos. So we were talking about the Queen passing here recently, and there's a couple other things that one of the things I saw that the lineup to walk past her coffin is over 4 miles long now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right now?
Right now. Right this moment, as people are, and it's getting longer as we speak, the line.
I'm
to
thinking,
walk past
isn't
her.
it like, what time is it right now? So it's almost 7 o'clock right now. Isn't that like almost 3 a.m.?
It's like 12 hours
Anywhere?
ahead, 6 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
I think
that
it's like 9.
there was, one of the people they interviewed was in line already almost since the moment, that, I don't know. I couldn't say from the moment she passed away, but from the moment the casket got moved into where it's at, they've been in line waiting to be let in.
So I was thinking about this because I've seen various degrees of comments towards her passing, from saying being incredibly sad and tearing up to people saying, I'm glad the old colonizing bitch is dead. All sorts of horrible things to wonderful things. And here's my thought about this. I'm going to see what you guys think. Was, A, she was a world leader. And I know people are saying, oh, she was a world leader, yada, yada, yada. She was a world leader whether she wanted to or not, and she knew it. Who lasted 70 years and did a pretty damn good job of keeping her appearance up. I mean, I don't know. I was kind of sad when she died, just because the fact that she was a 70-year-old world leader, and that's not an easy gig, especially when, what you do is on a knife point. Granted, she was absolutely rich, had an incredibly privileged life, etc. But I don't know. I'm kind of bummed that she passed.
Yeah, me too.
I kind
But,
of figured it was about time. I
Well-
mean, she was getting up there. I mean, Betty White's gone. You're not gonna, if you,
Yeah, if
it's
Betty's
just
gone,
that
the Queen
time
might
that
as well
a
go.
lot of these. Yeah, I mean, she's only 8 years younger than the Queen.
True.
Or I mean, 8 years older. Betty White was 9 years older than the Queen.
So the Queen was 96. How old was Betty when she passed?
Be like Ryan and
Betty
Google it.
was like 99. So
Yeah, that's right.
Was she okay?
wasn't it last year? So she was
3
about
years.
5 years.
Yeah.
3, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
99,
with that
96.
said,
Yeah,
I
about 4
mean,
years.
she had a good run. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
she did. If we have nobody to compare it to, I don't have another royal that I can think of. And of course she's the longest reigning royal for the British that there was.
I also find it weird, and I don't know anybody who's British to actually ask any question about like how they actually view the Queen, because Americans have a really weird thing with idolizing the British royal family. I've never quite understood that. But I don't know. I think
They're jealous of inbreeding.
Well, I mean, there is something romantic about there being royals, but on the other hand, it was like, there's a reason why we broke away from the British. We wanted to get rid of, away from the king and all of that. So
there was a quote, and I'm going to butcher it because that's what I do. It basically comes down to when royalty and monarchy is good, it's really good. But when monarchy is bad, it's really bad. There's no in-betweens. It either sucks out loud or it's really good. Like just pure, unadulterated monarchy. Which, by the way, Britain isn't. But I don't know. I just couldn't imagine living her life, too. Being World War II, going through all of that, and just seeing... It's like, when my grandfather, who was born in 1911, seeing all the changes and the differences and the political changes. Even if you go from like the 50s to the 70s, there was a massive amount of change in the U.S. So I'm assuming it's quasi the same in England because societies, American society and British society in some degrees are similar. All Western societies.
Yeah, right. No, you're right. I mean, she saw all kinds of changes in her lifetime. And from an outsider's perspective looking in, I thought she did a pretty good job as far as that goes. Now, there's an awful lot of backlash to the whole rule by Britain of its subjects, and not just I'm not talking about just in England. I'm talking about all the different areas from India that was under British rule that wasn't very good.
I just read something that actually said there. I guess there's a gem. I don't remember what the gem was called, but it's in some sort of scepter that the country is saying, hey, now that she's
Yes.
dead, give it back.
Yeah,
I don't
there's-
see them doing it, but
I
don't know.
I wouldn't see them at this point. Now, I think they've possessed it long enough in the royal gems. Everything that they had. I think at this point now there is no reason to turn around and go, gee, I'm sorry, I'm going to give you back your, you wear whatever, Jim.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
No,
So
no, they're not going.
here's a tip.
Nope.
We got one more story before we call it an episode. Do you like cucumbers? Well, if you walk into a house or an area or something that smells like cucumbers, instead of being a delicious thing you put in sandwiches, it could be a copperhead snake.
So copperhead snakes smell like cucumbers.
Apparently, the gland of a copperhead snake makes a smell that smells like cucumbers. So
Interesting. So next time I walk into the house, I should turn around and walk back out because there could be a snake in it.
yeah, or somebody's making cucumber sandwiches. I wasn't sure how to take that, but it's like, okay.
Or somebody's wife trying to make pickles.
Well, we don't have
True.
copperhead snakes in California that I know of.
Well, I mean, they're not native here. Doesn't mean they're not here.
Why
They may
kibitz
have
over?
hitched a ride on something and come on in.
Oh,
Wanted to see some of their brethren over here.
one more story in the
Rattlesnakes.
lightning round. New York declares a state of emergency over polio, and the World Health Organization, that may or may not have any validity anymore, is possibly going to declare New York, America, a hot spot for polio.
We talked about this a little bit, and it's one of those things that that I don't even want to take light of. Polio is horrible, and I know that we've talked about the possibility of polio coming back before on the show, and it's not a good thing. This is a very bad thing, and we talked about, do kids today, are they getting their polio vaccines in the whole series of stuff that they get now, or not?
And how good are
I
they?
don't know. Somebody was supposed to look that one up.
I think
don't think they do.
I'm pretty sure my son got those.
Well, see, pretty sure in being sure.
I'd actually have to ask my wife because she was
I think
present
it's
for all of
important
those.
that
I
you
wasn't.
look up. I think it's more. Polio's horrible. Not even funny. It's horrible. And I don't wish that on anybody. And I certainly wouldn't want any friends or family that I know of to be involved with it. So, I mean, if polio is really rearing its ugly head again, I think it's something we need to get on now.
So, according to this is an NBCnews.com article. Polio vaccination rates are low in most affected counties. Or, excuse me, Orange County, around 58% of children have received 3 shots before their second birthday. Rockland County has a rate of 60%. Sullivan County has 62%. And I'm assuming this is all New York. The vaccination rate in Nassau County is around similar to New York is 79%. By declaring a state of emergency, New York hopes to raise it everything above 90%. I'm just gonna say, if you guys think I'm making fun of polio, I'm not. Read books, read histories. Listen to some old time radio when they were talking about donating blood and all this stuff to try to help stop polio, how dangerous it was. There were PSAs back in the day telling people how dangerous this was. So.
Yeah, it's not good.
I thought this was interesting, especially when the WHO was going to declare it. And I'm like, oh, this will be interesting because I know a number of people who no longer take the WHO as any world leader because of previous stuff. Whether good or bad, I don't know. I've never actually looked into it.
I don't know. COVID took many either good news or bad news, whatever, and it kind of lumped it into a situation where, do we believe these people anymore? And that's one of the problems that we're having with something like the World Health Organization. Do we really believe what they say or not? I'm gonna say I hope we do. I got to believe that there's a lot of very good, knowledgeable people that work for the WHO and know things more than I do.
I would say
I'm going to listen to them.
I would say the problem, for at least the people I follow, is there were lies that were caught and everybody's side, and a lot of these people say if you're lying about something as potentially dangerous or benign as this, what else you're lying about? So that was their main comment. It's like, why should we trust you if you were caught lying and putting your hand in the cookie jar instead of just being out front and forward? Now, there's reasons why you don't tell the truth on everything, especially not when, let's be honest, Men in Black were right. A person by itself is fine. Get a group of people together, they're not so fine.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for the California Pariah, the Fat Man, and the Old Guy, as always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.